Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever podcast between myself, Phil, and my friend Tom, where we discuss game music.
Yes, welcome. Hello, I'm Tom. We're going to go through 5 songs each, sort of going off each other's taste, what we enjoy, what we want to hear. Also, sometimes just the theming of what we want to show the other host.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've kind of categorized the 5 pieces into different things, or at least I have, and I'm hoping to show Tom something new that he's not heard of before, something that I think that he would really enjoy. We've got some oldies in there as well, and as well something from a more recent time. So I wanted to at least showcase some game music from within the last couple of years. Right, this is a game that I am fairly positive that you've never played before, but it's one that is very close to my heart. But yeah. So, what do you think of that?
I tell you what, I'm actually quite stumped, to be honest with you, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one. It's the game itself is called Black and White. So
Black and white.
yeah, it was released way back in 2001 by Lionhead Studios. If you remember, those are the guys that did the Fable franchise.
Ah, okay.
So the premise of this game is that you are a god who has been birthed into this world through the desperation of a single prayer, and that's what you hear during this piece. You hear, someone say, "Help us," or whatever it is that they say. And this is you flying through the cosmos, flying through wherever it is that gods are born, all the way to this planet, and it's an absolutely brilliant opening to a game, I must say.
I mean, I must say, even the context of the game itself,
Yeah.
that's a very unique idea for sure.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
am a
Wikipedia calls it
massive.
a god video game, and I don't think I've ever seen that as a description for a game, a god video game.
Funnily enough, I can think of one. There was a city builder type game that was advertised for, I think maybe the Wii U, I believe, that had you play as the god hand itself, essentially mimicking and playing with your townspeople or the people who don't realize that you're the one lifting the planes across the planet.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that did so well. However, the concept for this one seems a lot more. It seems a lot more thematic.
Yeah.
Less jokey.
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly serious. I think when it first came out, it was for the PC, and it builds upon what Lionhead Studios is really all about the idea of choice and the idea of the concept of good and evil and how your actions in the world reflect on how the people and the atmosphere treats you. It's a really good game. I think it did set the benchmark for the standard in which the actual game interacts with you, the player, and it's great in that sense as well. That throughout the game is speaking to you, the player, as opposed to a character in a game. The guy that wrote this piece of music and the composer, Russell Shaw, I believe, he also did a lot of the music for the Fable games as well. But yeah, what have you got in store for me for your first one?
So on my first course, this platter, I've brought to you a game that has become quite dear to me over the past few 5 years. Originally, I've always kept up with the lore for this game. However, it involves an archetype inside of gaming that I absolutely adore. I think there's no better way to show that to you than sort of get stuck in and listen. So that, of course, was the wonderful piece, A Call to Arms from World of Warcraft.
I was gonna guess that. I think as soon as I heard that da 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 part in it, I was like, "Oh, it has to be Warcraft. It has to be Warcraft." I thought it might have been like a Rome Total War kind of game actually at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely classic, isn't it? I absolutely love that piece of music.
Very famously, that little chime that you brought up, used to call Tyrian Fordring into battle in Hearthstone, which is, I think, what most people know this clip from. However, the full piece itself, I think, plays a great role in encapsulating that archetype I was talking about, that paladin, that iconic in sort of gaming narrative, starting as a crusader archetype, that's slowly moving forward, touching upon your previous piece about prayers and power. Everything that they have comes from belief and faith. And I think the perfect thing about this piece for me personally is not only does it tie in with that my favorite type of archetype within gaming in fantasy, which is the paladin, but Tyrian himself is a very deep character. And it's a shame what they do to him in the end. However, I think throughout the first Warcraft, all the way into World of Warcraft, you see that build throughout this piece, that sort of slow rising, the rise of a warrior to protect its people against the greatest threat that we had seen in the Warcraft universe at the time, which is obviously Arthur, the Lich King. There's a lovely little piece at the end, I don't know if you caught it, that last 20 seconds or which I think is perfect. There's that sort of mystique in there, which I think fully represents that what next. And I think that's why I chose this piece very well, because I don't think a single piece of music represents my favorite archetype in gaming quite so well. I think it's right about the time that we get onto your next.
Absolutely. So I reckon that you will be able to guess from which franchise this piece of music is. This is one that I think you're going to love, but I'm fingers crossed that I don't think you've actually played this game. But I'm hoping that you do recognise from which franchise it is. So yeah, we'll get it queued up. What's this from?
I've got two guesses. Both
Cool.
of them are franchises, but
Uh-huh.
I can throw a little guess in there
Hmm.
as to what game as well. So my original thought on the opening was Final Fantasy.
It is Final Fantasy.
Oh,
Very, very iconic. They have this slowly ascending arpeggio form thing. Like da 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 da. I can't do it. This is an earlier Final Fantasy.
really?
Yeah, this is from Final Fantasy 3.
Really?
Yeah,
He's dug deep today.
and this game was remastered for the DS, if you can remember, and it was an absolutely amazing game because it was essentially exactly the same as the original Final Fantasy 3, but they'd just given it a bit more of an uptune, 3D graphics, that sort of thing. But it was for the DS, so for its time, pretty fast forward. But looking now, if you play something on the DS, it's not quite the same experience being in 2023. But this piece of music, when you have inserted the DS cartridge and you've clicked on, you're ready to play, this is again the intro music, and it has a clip that plays alongside with it. And do you remember how we were talking about that? There's some pieces of music that you will just forget to play the game and you'll just want to listen to it over and over again. Tying that with the absolutely amazing clip of the four warriors of light going through their adventures, it was just magical. And I remember probably watching this introduction more so than I played the actual game itself. But yeah, an absolute classic. I think his name is Nobuo Uematsu, composer, who did this piece of work, and I think he's done most of the Final Fantasy stuff as well. They've done a lot of concerts in the world showcasing the music of Final Fantasy, and it's just like if you were to go, listen to a Beethoven symphony or listen to anything at the concert hall. So yeah, I think that's one of the great things that music is doing in video game music. It's branching out into listenable concert music.
For sure. And in fact, just before I move on to my piece,
Yep.
I want to say that honestly, the video game awards when they started out was seen as kind of a joke, but now as it's evolved and it's really become the new E3, one of the things that I look forward to the most is their performance. They bring an orchestra on and they do a 8 to 10 minute medley of games that are involved or games from the publishers and developers that are there that people love.
But yeah, let's have a listen to what you've put together. What's your next one? Any preface?
So I promised this to you last time.
Is it Persona? Is it Persona 5?
It is indeed.
I've guessed it. I mean, you don't even need to play it now.
Very, very true. However, this is left turn from what I played for you last time.
Okay.
I think so that you might see a different take on what you saw last time.
Okay,
So
cool.
It's coming up.
right in front of me. That's where I found an empty glass, reflecting that's a truth. It's telling words not to be told. I need that mask. I'm a sharpshooter at this masquerade, heart in both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a sharpshooter, chained down to my core. Please don't take off my mask, my place to hide. I can't tell you how to see me. Just a cage of bones. There's nothing inside. Will it unleash me, burning down the walls? Is there a way for me to break? I'm a sharpshooter at Paul's masquerade, hide in both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a sharpshooter, have no face to show. Please don't take off my mask, my disguise.
Give a little pretext for Persona 5 for those who haven't played it. It's quite a popular game, but for a massive sort of section of game. I don't think a lot of people have played it outside. I don't believe you have, Phil. Is that correct?
No, I've not played it, no.
There are two sides to the game. There is the JRPG fighting combat, sort of collecting Pokemon type style. And the other half is them putting on their mask. It's they've got to get through life, the school, the interactions. They are essentially kids at school, going through their golden years, as Japan likes to call it. And, you know, one side of their life is much more important to them at the time, which is solving these murders. Persona 5 tends to have quite a dark story, but with a massive sort of anime cover over the top. And I think that's what puts people off quite a lot about the game. That and the duration being about 200 hours. And the sort of lyrics that go on through it, in sort of the masquerade, mask, the mirror on the wall. Essentially, these people know that they've got something more important to be fighting for, but they have to continue their normal life.
It's a bit meta. It's a bit meta, isn't it? Like it's like, you know, the video game that they play has to come to an end soon, and if you could think of it that way.
It's funny you say that, because that's part of the game. Every Persona has an actual calendar. You can't just wake up, keep playing school, because eventually what happens is you end up missing your target and something fatal happens. So it's about balancing that life and relationships you choose to sort of build your friendship with. But at the same time, that goes into the teams that you bring in to the actual JRPG fighting side, which is, I think, what a lot of people love. And it's that song that you heard there, that is the music that will play in the town. in between conversations, that like downtime between fights.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that it sounds very like jazz loungy anyway. That to be honest, you could walk into a hotel and have someone sing that, and it wouldn't be out of place.
And I think it's that perfect aspect that simplicity allows it to loop. You're going to be spending a lot of time hearing that song.
Yeah.
And the fact that people love it, it means it hit the mark. I think it's a perfect time. I hope you've got something that might ramp it up.
This one, I don't think you'll guess what it is. And to be honest, I only really thought of this kind of a bit last minute. But this was a game that I used to play with my brother, and we used to play it on the PC together. Has a lot of repeatability to it because once you die, you have to start all over again.
Classic old game.
Classic old game. So yeah, this comes. This is a piece of music that comes very early on in the game.
You hear it a lot.
So I've heard it a lot. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'll get it going now.
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing that a lot. Give you that.
So you can see that. Funny, we were talking about looping in Persona 5. That the classic case there, it looped just towards the end of that sample that I played towards you, and then it sort of tailored off because that's the end of it, isn't it? So it's only really like 1 minute and 30 seconds of music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure as you can guess, it's from a fairly oldish game. I mean, maybe not that old actually.
Did have quite a think about it, actually.
Mm.
I was thinking when you gave me a hint of dying quite a lot and having to restart, it made me think of two old games particularly, but I don't believe, and I have played both of these, but the two that came to my mind was Contra and Metal Slug.
So this is a game called Tyrian. That was released in Tyrian. Have you heard of it?
I have only heard about this reference from Rest in Peace, Total Biscuit.
Ah, interesting. So do you know what it's about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's an arcade game where you play as a little spaceship that essentially flies around on a scrolling map, and it's just enemies shooting at you.
I was right with Metal Slug, but is it more of a bullet hell type game?
Yeah, definitely. So in between levels, you upgrade your ship with the money that you get from destroying things as you
Classic.
proceed through the levels, and then it just becomes crazy. And this one, so this is Asteroid Dance, is the name of the piece of music, but it's part 2. Because I was quite young, part 1, which is the first level, it was quite difficult for me. So whenever you got to part 2 and this music started coming on, that's when it started getting intense. So I was like, oh no, because if I die, I'm going to go all the way back to level 1 and I've just beaten it. So it definitely holds a special place in my heart for this.
I am going to have to break the rules somewhat, my friend.
What?
I'm gonna have to play. I'm gonna have to play 2 because
Okay.
I think without the context of both of them together, it doesn't quite sum up who this character. So
Okay.
get right into it. So that is Cynthia's 2 themes. One from the approach when you go to talk to her in the final battle and the champion, and during the battle. And I think both really represents her very well. And I don't think there's a single character in the Pokemon franchise is as prolific. They use her again and again and again in subsequent games because I think that love for her is there.
In terms of like an Elite Four champion battle, is she the first female? Am I right in thinking that?
I believe you're right. Your rival is the first one. In Silver and Gold, it escapes. In Emerald, you fight Wally.
Wally, yeah, and then
Who's Juan's son, and then you fight
Diamond and
Cynthia in
Pearls.
the
Yeah,
fifth game.
Cynthia.
And I think as an ace for a Pokemon, an ace for someone who doesn't know is their strongest Pokemon in their battle. If people choose to play with certain rules, it just makes that harder. Garchomp is still people's favorite ace in all of Pokemon.
One of the good things actually about Pokemon music in general, and I guess this is why I was hesitant to do it, because I think if I played something for you that was Pokemon music, you'd instantly get it. Like, you'd instantly know it was from Pokemon, because it has such a distinct sound and a way that it approaches instrumentation. It's iconic. Like, if any gamer has at least played one Pokemon, or even maybe not even played it, they just know of it and they hear something like that, you can instantly tell it's Pokemon related. It's utterly magical. I love it.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
I love this piece, and I'll remember it forever, for sure. What is up with your next?
You should be able to guess this next one.
No pressure.
But I feel that this one is just so nostalgic for me that I think it needs no introduction. So I'll get it going.
I didn't expect this from you, I must admit.
Oh yeah? Why? What do you know? Do you know what it is?
I think I know this purely, and you're lucky because I haven't played it, but I was around it a lot because
Oh, yeah.
of my getting trapped in a house with my cousin. We both play games, and sometimes we'd go over. She only had a PC,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's The Sims.
It is The Sims. It is The Sims.
It is The Sims.
And it's the original Sims as well.
Yeah.
So this is the music that you hear whenever you go into your buy mode. It's literally called buy mode 1. So yeah, once you've created your sim, you've given them the name, and you've adjusted all their appearance and whatnot, and you're in the world, and you start to buy things for your house. this is the music that plays. And this is funny. When I was looking for this piece of music and I found it on YouTube, the top comment was basically like, "Yeah, and this is what capitalism sounds like." I was just like, "Yeah, I think it rings it right back." But yeah, I absolutely love this because, I mean, that comment is absolutely right. I think it just sounds like the suburban city. You know, it's that pizzicato-y strings that, you know, give it that sort of spice to it.
It reminds me of something that could be in the early stages of a Pixar film.
Yeah.
Set it in the suburbs. You're walking down the street. You've just moved. It's a brand new start, right? And you're walking around. It's that sunny, ideal, picturesque idea of American suburbia, which unironically is The Sims. Going to the music itself, I love that sort of 16 bars. That ba 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 ba.
Yeah.
Ba, 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 is played on different instruments.
Yeah,
in
and it
between
passes
each
it
one.
around. Yeah, it's lovely.
I love it. I love it. When you're trying to talk to your son in The Sims and he's saying Babadoo Baba, and you say Yada Nade, and you know what? They're both laughing together. They're both interacting.
They're having a
Throw
great
the
time.
kid in the- you throw the kid in the pool that you just bought, and you're like, life is good, you know?
Yeah.
Take you back. You're 12 years old. You're playing The Sims. It's a weekend, and for some reason the day feels longer.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Right. Give me your. Is this your fourth or is this your last?
This is my fourth.
This is
The
your
Cynthia
fourth.
one was a little cheap. Very similarly to your last pick, I think you'll get this straight away. And again, it's one of those things, I don't even think you need to have played it to have heard it. I felt like I had to put something truly iconic in here. We'll get right into it. So, what do you think it is?
Oh, it's Donkey Kong Country.
Of course it is, which is funny. Because, of course,
This plays at the beginning, right? When you first open him up into the game.
yep, like setting the tone for the whole game. And I think it always starts in, you know, your one-hit enemies. They just walk left to right. You're learning to collect the coins or the Wumpa fruit from Crash, your gems from Spyro, your bananas from Donkey. And it's surprisingly a banger.
Oh,
For-
yeah.
For the first intro to the game, you know the whole soundtrack is going to be fire.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
I think it goes down as, you know, one of the best video game soundtracks of all time.
What I find so good about this song is I swear it could be outside of a game and people would like it. Like, without any context, without anything. Like, the progression that goes on within it, the bit where everything kicks out and it's just a bum, ba-da-da-dum,
Yeah.
bum, bum. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So, your final piece, sir.
My final piece, yes. So, what I thought would be good was to include some video game music from a recent video game. And I played this earlier this year. I think actually back in July. So not too long ago that I played this game. And this game came out late 2022. So it's a fairly new game. And yeah, I'll play it, and we'll talk about it afterwards. But yeah, we'll give it a listen.
Well, I gotta give it to you, mate. Not only was that very good, but you've completely stumped me.
Oh yeah. So
I don't have a clue.
that's fine. I didn't think that you would guess it. It's a fairly short game in comparison to other games that I've played. So it's a neat 9-hour, 10-hour game. If you want to do sort of the main story, possibly even less, to be honest, 5-6 hours. It's called Endling. Extinction is Forever.
Not heard of this.
Yeah, it was one that came up, but like I said, back end of 2022, and as the title suggests, it follows the idea of extinction. And the effect that we humans are having on the world, and it's a side scroller. It's a 3D side scroller where you play as a mother fox who, at the beginning of the game, is you running out of a forest fire that's caused by humans, and you end up in a den where you give birth to 3 cubs, and then your sort of mission is to just feed your cubs, keep them alive, and make sure that nothing happens. And it's a very somber play, I must admit. And it's beautifully done. It's very puzzly, I guess, in a way. I mean, you could call it survival adventure if you want to, where you're sort of exploring around the world. But it works very similarly in the sense that there are days. So once the day is over, you'll go and rest back in your den. And each new day, something in the environment changes, and sometimes those changes are extremely drastic. It was honestly like a really great 6-hour play, and there are now going to be some spoilers just because I think this is a really great piece of music from this. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, then don't. This piece of music is called Goodbye, Dear Mother. So you play as the mother fox throughout this entire situation. And I think, as you can probably guess, this comes at the very end of the game, and it is essentially the fox mother's farewell to her cubs. And it is incredibly moving in the sense that throughout the whole game, in terms of the soundtrack, there is no vocalist, there is no voice, and this is the first time that you hear a vocalist, and it's at this very end. And it kind of sounds, because it's that vocalization of O, it kind of sounds like howling, doesn't it? It kind of sounds a bit like a mother fox speaking to perhaps the cubs. And yeah, it's such a sad and very very real ending. But yeah, honestly, like such a great playthrough in its entirety. Definitely recommend.
Well, I can say that's going on the list.
Yeah.
Right. You've sort of inspired me for the next episode. I know exactly what I'm going to bring.
Oh yeah. So go ahead, hit me with your last one then. I'm ready for it.
Last one for me. We're going to end on a little bit of a high.
Good.
Not very long. However, this for me comes from a soundtrack that might be in my top 5 soundtracks of the time.
Okay, all right.
When I'm reading my book, and and I exclusively read essentially a mix of fantasy, historic fiction, sci-fi.
Are you looking at your books now? I feel like you turned your head, Ben.
I literally turned right. You can hear it. I play this soundtrack sometimes, and for some reason, playing it from top to bottom, when you get to a paragraph or a section of the book or a chapter where it hits hard. And I think you'll see when you hear it instantly. You'll know where it's from. that is the final track.
Well, you already know that I love it because it's got that Asian feel to it. It's got that Eastern vibes. It's got that. Oh, I love it. Yeah. What could it be though? What could it
Really? It's a struggle, is it?
be? Now, I might guess maybe like a Diablo game or.
It's as bloody as Diablo, but it is in fact The Witcher 3.
Oh, of course. Bleeding
This
hell.
is a track called Silver for Monsters, and as you can probably tell, it is played when killing said monsters with such silver swords.
Right. See, I've not actually played the Witcher games myself.
Well, a little context. Based on a wonderful set of books, which actually are essentially short stories in the earlier books that overarch into a sort of brilliant world with lush characters. The Witcher games was made by a Polish developer. Now, when they got their hands on the Witcher IP in The Witcher 1, these people are raised from birth, kidnapped or traded by their parents at a young age to become witches. They go through a horrible process called the Trail of Grasses, which essentially injects mutagens into their body. Now, The Witcher 3, this is all based off heavily Polish folklore and other Eastern European influences, but predominantly Polish. The writer originally is Polish, and so are the developers, who famously now are huge. CD Projekt Red made Cyberpunk, and that was their sort of soiree into sort of branch out. But The Witcher 3, in my opinion, is probably one of the best art. Characters are brilliant, story is lush, and I think it's a perfect example of building a world on such a rich, pre-established lore that if you don't stray from it to have the ego to change it, I think you come out with perfect game. And they pulled it off flawlessly, in my opinion. I think some people would say the combat is a bit jank. The game could be very easy, but I think if you let yourself be immersed within the world, the music, the gameplay, it all really does come together to make such a rich. I absolutely love it.
Well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. If you have been listening all this way, there will be links to all of the music that you've listened to today. But yeah, have a good night if you are listening to us as you go to sleep, and have a good morning if you are listening to us as you wake up, and have a good day just because it's a good day.